You've always seen the juicy property profits on the news or by property agents showing you how much a property made, the $1 million HDB or the 500,000 condo profit, but how much of it is actually true? Let's talk about this today. Many agents will tell you to commit and then cash out hundreds of thousands of profits in a mere 3 to 5 years. And while it sounds easy to buy at 1.5 million and then sell at 1.8 million for 300,000 profits, that is what I call face value profit. The same misleading number that you see on URA or square foot online. Because the truth is there are costs that are not accounted for, and worse yet, there are no consolidated apps or websites out there to help you calculate this. To understand your own net profits, you will have to do your own homework to get your answer. And as we enter 2026, the Singapore property market has shifted into a period of sustainable growth. With HDB prices flatlining and private property growth slowing down to 3.4%, you can no longer rely on massive market surge to hide your math errors behind inflated profit amounts. And if you like content like this, subscribe to the channel to receive more analysis on real estate, videos that will showcase the truth backed with numbers and data. I'm ASAP, and today we break down the profit illusion and discover the truth behind it. So the typical formula would be sale price minus the bought price, and that will give you your face value profit, which in the case of our previous example, where we had $300,000 as the face value profits. But the question beckons, how much of this is actually profit? And let's go through these 7 factors that affect it. And these factors are: number 1, buyer stamp duty, the upfront cost you paid years ago and likely forgot about it. Number 2, bank interest, which is also the cost of leveraging. Although we always say that buying a property is a form of forced savings, you must be clear that your mortgage isn't entirely going towards your outstanding loan. And number 3, renovations. Whatever amount you spend on renovations determines how much of the cost you're going to absorb when you're selling. That is why people always say don't splurge on renovation, especially if you're looking to sell your property within a short time frame. Number 4, agent fees, and this is including your buying and selling of the property. Number 5, property tax rates. Generally, owner-occupied tax rates are relatively low, but when it comes to non-owner occupied tax rates, that amount can quadruple in some examples. Number 6, maintenance fees. Whether you use the facilities or not, there is always some form of management fees, even in a HDB estate. And number 7, finally, legal fees, the smallest of these components, but a buying and selling transaction will cost you a few $1,000s. And now let's group these factors into various headers to help simplify the understanding of this framework. Number 1, buying agent commission, legal fees, renovation, and buyer stamp duty are what we call the entry costs. And number 2, maintenance fee, property tax, and interest are what we call the recurring costs. Number 3, selling agent commission, legal fees are what we call the exit costs. And so the more accurate formula to use is actually face value profit minus your entry cost, minus your recurring cost, minus your exit cost. That will then give you your net profits. And this is your net profit, not sales proceeds or how much CPF and cash comes back to you. Your sales proceed usually includes things like your original down payment and also the principal amount that you have paid back to your loan, things that are originally your money. And before we go into an example of using this formula, we must first understand 2 different approaches when calculating profits: the Purist and the Realist approach. The Purist on one hand uses the total cost of ownership or TCO model. It is a standard financial metric that measures every direct and indirect expense over an asset's entire lifespan, and the buyer of the property sees it as a cold hard business asset. The Realist, which uses the net lifestyle adjusted model, which acknowledges that some of these costs like interest or maintenance or property tax are sunk costs that you would have paid to have a roof over your head, effectively separating the profits from living expenses. And now that you have heard this, do you know of any friends that are Realist or Purist? Comment down below on how they do their girl or boy math. Let's go through an example now. In this first example, we have John, a family man at 35 years old. He buys a $1.5 million 3-bedroom condo for his growing family. He decides that the house needs a round of renovation, so he spends $50,000 on it before moving in. His property tax is $1,148 a year and has a quarterly maintenance of $1,200. He also takes a 75% loan of $1.125 million for 30 years at a 2% interest rate. 5 years later, he decides to upgrade and decides to sell it at $1.8 million. Let's use this example to list down the 7 factors. Number 1, on the onset, he has to count for the BSD that he incurred upon purchasing, which is $44,600. Number 2, his interest to the bank over 5 years is $105,000. Number 3, his renovation costed him $50,000. Number 4, his agent fees, I'll just count it it as 1% plus GST for buying it at 1.5 million and 2% plus GST for selling it at 1.8 million. Number 5, property tax incurred is 1,148 per year and 5,740 for 5 years. Maintenance fees at $1,200 a quarter means $24,000 over 5 years. And number 7, lastly, we have legal fees incurred. I'll just use the lawyer rates that I have. $2,500 for buying and $2,500 for selling. In this case, if he uses the typical formula, selling price minus the purchase price, he gets $300,000, which sounds like a tidy profit. But let's now put our formula to work here. Face value profit minus entry cost, which includes his buying agent fee, legal fee, the buyer stamp duty, and renovation costs, minus recurring costs, which includes his bank interest, maintenance fee, and property tax, minus exit costs, which includes selling agent fee and legal fees. In a purist's eyes, when he applies this formula, he gets a grand total of $9,528 as his net profit. A vast difference from the $300,000 face value profit, despite it looking like a very huge number. This is because his total cost in purchasing this property, holding it, and selling it has incurred additional costs of $290,000 over the last 5 years. But now let's take the realist approach. John needs to provide a home for his family anyway, and so recurring costs like interest or maintenance fee or property tax over 5 years shouldn't be included in this equation. Why? Because he would have incurred some form of cost to have a roof over his head anyway. For an example, if we count his total recurring cost, which is about $135,000 over 5 years, this averages out to $27,000 a year or $2,200 a month to afford him a roof over his head. His other alternative to buying and staying in the property would be a rental property at $5,000 a month. So buying and staying while factoring these costs would make more sense economically wise. And so based on this, in the realist's eyes, he then adjusts the formula to remove recurring expenses, which leaves him with a net profit of $194,000. Some realists will even say that renovations allow their family to enjoy a better quality of life and overall upgrades the property. So it really depends on how you wish to calculate this, but the fact is, if you have no roof over your head and you don't want the alternative of staying with your parents, the correct model to adopt is that of a realist. But either ways now, as you can see, even in the realist's eyes, the profits are definitely not a flat $300,000. We now move on to the next example, which is maybe more prevalent in the market these days. In an alternate reality, we have John again, this time as a single person that loves staying at his parents' house to enjoy free lodging and food. This is actual valid financial advice. Stay with your parents if you enjoy the food and the company. At 35 years old now, he decides to buy a $1.5 million 2-bedroom new launch condo as an investment. He takes a 75% loan at $1.125 million for 30 years at a 2% interest rate. He doesn't incur property tax or maintenance fee because the condo is still under construction. 4 years later, the condo obtains TOP, he collects the keys and decides to cash out and sell at $1.7 million. Now let's list down the 7 factors again. Number 1, his BSD will still be the same at $44,600 because this property also costs $1.5 million. Number 2, now for the interest over 4 years, it will look something like $30,000 as an estimate because the mortgage increases progressively, meaning he doesn't have to pay the mortgage on the full 75% of the loan for the entirety of the 4 years. If you wish to calculate interest for progressive payments as accurately as possible, drop me a DM and I'll send over a Google Sheet for you to play around with. Number 3, no renovations because the developer is giving him a renovated unit and he's selling immediately upon key collection. Number 4, because it is a new launch, there is no buying agent commission, only the commission of 2% plus GST for selling. Number 5 and 6, there are no property tax or maintenance fee incurred because this is a new launch unit. He might have to pay 6 months of maintenance fee upfront and property tax, but the buyer would reimburse him upon the completion of sale anyway. Number 7, legal fees incurred is $3,000 for buying and $3,000 for selling. A slight increase because this is bought as a new launch unit and sold as a sub-sale unit. I am obviously not a legal person, but according to the lawyer that I work with, he said that BUC or new launch units do not have their title deeds ready yet, and so it involves more work on the lawyer sides. That's why new launch legal fees are slightly higher than that of resale units. And so again, with the typical formula, selling price minus purchase price, he gets a face value profit of $200,000, which again sounds like a tidy profit. But when we put in the new formula, face value profit minus entry cost, in this case includes his legal fees and buyer stamp duty. His recurring costs will just be the bank interest because the property isn't completed yet, and minus the exit cost, which in this case calculates the selling agent fee and legal fees. And that results in his net profits as $82,000. And in this case, I would suggest taking the Purist approach of counting. Because he has a roof over his head, he loves staying with his parents and doesn't need to get his own place, so every bit of direct or indirect expenses should be included into his profit counting. And why are we taking the time and extra trouble to calculate this accurately? Is because sometimes your face value profits may reflect as a gain on the websites, but you are actually breaking even, or in some worst cases making a loss. Like, look at the second example. If John sold it at $1.6 million instead, he would have suffered a $17,000 loss, despite online sites showing it as a $100,000 profit transaction. With this formula, he would know that the price isn't right and he should just adopt the landlord mentality, renting out the property to cover the recurring costs till he gets the price that he wants. And we will have to do this entire rental calculations in another video where we focus on counting the ROI for rental properties. Because not every rental property may make the desired profits you're looking for. And in cases like that, instead of buying a property that doesn't give you your net profits in your expected investment time frame, it might be better to put your money in other investment vehicles. So yes, the truth is, as long as your property makes huge capital gains, you're likely to be profiting from it. But in a slower growth market, it is better for you to be sure of your math and understand the full cost incurred before committing to the sale of your property. And so in summary, do not take face value profits as your true profits. Juicy numbers that are shown on the news and by property agents can sometimes be an illusion. Take into account the 7 factors we mentioned before, and depending on whether you want to take the realist or purist approach to count your net profits. This calculation can be the difference between a good decision and a bad one, and for some cases, why it seems that you are not really earning money even after flipping your property for a few times. Don't leave your next move to guesswork, because in a slower growth economy, your face value profits may not cover all the other costs. And again, I must emphasize, don't be too blinded by face value profits. Do the math, or if you're lazy or don't understand how to do it, get your agent to calculate it. If you wish to have the spreadsheet to calculate your net profits or the new launch progressive payment interest, just drop me a DM at 96971000 and I'll share the Google Sheet with you. I'm ASAP and I will see you in the next video.